You really need to take the time to really do a proper investigation.
Probably the stress levels of running a small business and also trying to nurture a growing family of 4.
Stress is the number one inflammatory. All right, welcome to the Make Men Great Again podcast, Mr. David Gelbart. Super excited to have you on today. Thanks for taking time out of your day. For obviously the listeners that probably don't maybe know who you are, just give us a bit of an introduction. Who you are, what do you do, where do you live, just some general basic information.
So who I am, without getting too deep into it, I'm just a big kid really, but yeah, I'm a father of 4, happily married, thankfully, 4 healthy children. And yeah, I've just lived in Melbourne my whole life. Grew up a normal sort of outdoor-loving, sport-loving kid. Went to school here as well. And I've now been running a small personal training studio for, this is the 25th year, so
wow.
a very, very long time. And I'm still enjoying playing sports, keeping fit and healthy.
Yeah, and that's actually how Dave and I know each other. I was a personal trainer for many years and worked as a contractor, with him in his studio in Caulfield. But I guess the reason what motivated me to have Dave on the podcast when I was starting to put together like the guest lineup, as I say, I had a bunch of people in mind, and then you literally just popped in my head out of nowhere, and I just thought of you and thought I'm just gonna contact him. And the reason why Dave will share a bit of his story, but he was diagnosed with cancer a few years ago in the midst of enough that was already going on with COVID, and everyone knew about the fitness industry, all of the stresses and things going on there. But obviously, as you just said, you're a healthy guy, live a pretty, very healthy life from what I've seen. What do you feel were the leading factors that kind of led up to, a healthy, fit, pretty happy young person such as yourself to then get in that place? Have you got family history of cancer?
So my maternal grandmother had leukemia, and I had a different type of cancer. I had a type of like a bit of a, not so rare, but a type of lymphoma. So the cancer that I had was not a hereditary factor. And the good question you ask, what do I think were some of the factors that led to it? I got no evidence of this whatsoever, and the doctors wouldn't sort of give me any lead in here either. But probably just the stress of my gut feel is could have been just a rare accident or a fluke or bad luck. But probably the stress levels of running a small business, and also trying to nurture a growing family of 4.
Yeah,
I would say, and actually, I think inflammation. I've been told by the medical people that there's a strong link between inflammation and the type of lymphoma that I had, and I've incurred a lot of not very serious, some more serious than others actually, a lot of injuries, soft tissue injuries, structural injuries, a lot of muscle soreness from the sport that I've played. Over all the years, I've had a few surgeries and multiple muscle tears and strains and things like that. So I think that all those factors combined, probably my gut feel, no evidence of that at all, led to, what happened to me.
It's funny you say that, because I remember finding out, and obviously I'd spent time, we went from obviously me being a contractor to then us working together in the business, and then there was COVID, and it was such a stressful time, especially for personal trainers. I think that your gym was one of the only personal training studios that I knew that actually was still making money throughout COVID because of some of the moves that we made there. But I guess being able to see firsthand the stress that you're going through, that was my gut feeling. I'm like, Dave's healthy. I'm going through my mental checklist. The only thing that I could possibly think of is that stress. And the thing that I do know about stress, and it's been scientifically proven that, stress actually, it's funny you said the inflammation piece about injuries, because stress is the number one inflammatory. What happens when we get stressed is our brain shuts down and it doesn't digest food properly anymore, so we can't get the nutrients out of it, and all of the cells are under stress, and the stress basically makes everything be inflamed. Whenever I've had lots of stress, I would have gut issues, start to have neck pain and things like that. So yeah, I think potentially it could be the injuries, but also the stress itself is inflammatory. They say that's what cancer cells are mostly just cells that have mutated as a result of inflammation. So you got diagnosed. When like walk me through the timeline of where this is at in the COVID kind of journey.
Okay, so the year is 2021 here. So we've already started to begin lockdowns and come to become aware of the gravity of COVID. So we're talking all through 2021. I actually started off with I took one of those dentist issue teeth whitening packs.
Yeah.
Right? With the rubber molds, and you put the
I used them at one point.
Yeah, I can't remember it's not a chlorine, but some sort of chemical.
Yeah, it has a bit of an odd.
Yeah, it's got an odd
stinge.
Yeah, it does. So anyway, you fill your mold with that gel, and you put it in you just mold it around your teeth for 20 minutes every night. And the dentist told me ad nauseum, he said, whatever you do, don't swallow any of this stuff. Don't just make sure that you don't swallow any. Just put it in your mouth and don't swallow. I said, yeah, no worries. So I start using it, and lo and behold, I start to swallow some of it by accident.
Yeah, as you do. And it really, unbeknownst to me, had a tumor in my stomach, and it really reacted badly to it. And as you can imagine,
and other things did too, like the odd occasion where I had a little nip of whiskey or something like that. Not every time, but sometimes. Also, certain things would cause a reaction really, really badly. But the main thing that happened in 2021 was that at night, in the middle of the night, I'd be violently ill, vomiting. Wow. Not every night, no pattern to it at all either. So, it might happen for one night, then not for 3 or 4 weeks, and then maybe a bit more often, and then not at all. So there was no pattern to that at all. So then we started to have, some of us started to have jabs for COVID, vaccinations, or immunisations. So I had the first one, and while I was there, I just mentioned to my GP, I said, listen, I haven't been feeling well. This has been happening. I've been vomiting at night. And he said, look, don't worry, you're fine, basically.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's all right. It's stress. Everyone's under stress. I think
what a fucking lazy. Yeah. What a lazy response. I mean, I'm all for, I think doctors do a great job, and without them, we need them. But I think anytime you've got a person who makes money off the amount of patients that they see, well, it's going to lend itself to just another one. You're just a number. I don't think it's their fault. I think it's the industry, the way that it's set up. But it's like, how can you really need to take the time to really do a proper investigation? I had the same thing with my heart.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll be right. It's probably it's probably just this thing.
Yeah. So it was again, it was probably at that stage put under the basket of stress. So maybe he sort of suggested to see a psychologist at that time, and gave me a referral for that. Can't remember whether I did act on it, but not straight away. But anyway, 3 weeks later, I'm having my second jab, and I said to the doc, hey, something's not right here. I've probably had another couple of episodes in that interim time. So this time he said, okay, let's send you off to the gastroenterologist.
Yes.
Right, let's find out what's going on. I said, yep, let's do that. But the wait to see the gastroenterologist was 12 weeks. 12 weeks. So we had to wait there.
And we're still just for the listeners, we're still in the middle of lockdown. Are we locked down right now? You're training in the park, like you're still going to work. You're waking up, spewing up during the night. You're getting up at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, there might have been
going to the park, training clients.
Yep, there was the odd morning where there was 1 or 2 mornings where if I was really, really ill at night, I would have to cancel that morning. But by that evening or the next morning, I'm back at work.
Yeah.
Probably happened only 2 or 3 times where I had to pull out of work. So
of work.
Yeah. So of work, yeah. So I'm running my business, and this is a good time to actually send a lot of gratitude to my interviewer over here, Scotty. He was absolutely sensational. When we had to lock the gym down at the start of 2021, we didn't know what we were going to do. We were given 24 hours notice. It's just a little adjunct that we're going to have to shut the gym. And we had no idea. So the first thing that we did was we just said we had less than a day's notice. We emailed our whole client base and said, guys, come and pick up. We don't know what's going to happen here. Apparently you can do stuff on Zoom. You can do stuff online.
Well, I was still running. That was when I started that online space. So I was already using Zoom for my program client. So I'd kind of
Scotty
just started the tech journey then.
That's right. So Scotty was all over it, and I didn't know what, I knew it existed, but didn't know what was going to happen. But we emailed all the clients, said, look, just come down as soon as you can, pick up some equipment, whatever, just some light stuff, not the big machines and stuff.
By the way, something we should preface is that the clientele in Caulfield these aren't 20-year-old fit people. If Dave was concerned about the tech of Zoom and he's 40-something, most of the average client is 50 to 80 or 50 to 75.
That's right.
So that was one of our biggest concerns. I remember you going like, how are we going to get these people to do it? I said, Dave, I'll sit with them on the call, every single person. Right. We're not going to, and I ended up having to do that with people. Press this button. I can't see it. And we'd be doing the phone call.
And I was one of those people, by the way. But they all came down. That's right. They all came down. They all picked up, still unsure what they're going to do, but they all picked up a few bits and pieces. We kept a list of who had what, and then we just got some equipment into their houses. All right. And then it was then what? And that's where Scotty came in and started showing the trainers and the clients, which took a lot of time and a lot of painstaking effort, and showed them how to get a Zoom account up. And within a week, we're sitting in front of our clients in their living rooms with their 2 or 3 or 4 bits of equipment, and we're running sessions straight away. And it was an incredible, very quick thinking and quick organizing. And without Scotty there helping us, do all that and set all that up, we probably just would have shut down and maybe not even have existed. And
90% of, I was so surprised how many, because I knew a lot of other personal trainers. I knew people that ran personal training businesses. I've been in industry like you for quite a long time. And I saw people running, I was doing free training online for people that were on Instagram and like that because people just literally were at home stuck in things. But what I think also helped the business stay afloat was the fact that, a lot of people were selling their Zoom sessions for like $5 a call and $15 a call. And one of I think the really vital, and this is more of a businessy angle here, but I think a lot of people are like, okay, well, how much are we going to pay? How do you price this thing that we've never kind of done before? And I think I remember having conversations about that as well. Do we make it half price? Should it be full price? What should we do here? And I think that made a big difference, and it's a testament to the quality of the training that was being given. Because I saw a lot of people try to do what we did, but they were training hours and hours every day, but not making any money. So. Anyways, going back to what you were saying before.
Yeah, back to 2021. So 12 weeks to wait for an appointment with a gastroenterologist. In that time, continued to become probably more and more ill, probably more often. And in the end, I made it to the 12 weeks and had it was just a telehealth call with the gastroenterologist. And it didn't go for very long, and he asked me what had been happening. I told him what had been happening, and he said, I think what we should do, if you want to, he said, we should have a gastroscopy and colonoscopy, if you want. And I said, what do you mean if I want? He said, well, it's pretty invasive and it's not very comfortable, but
one up, one down from the top, one from the bottom.
That's right, exactly. But it's up to you. And I said, yeah, look, I've been pretty sick. I think I'll do
whatever it takes. Don't give me an option here.
Couldn't believe it. Look, I think the whole medical industry.
Do you want fries with that?
Yeah.
Would you like a shake? Like,
yeah, it was like, if you want. And I said, what's the alternative? Well, don't have it. Anyway, the whole medical industry was obviously under a lot of pressure at that time. But I said, yeah, I'll do it. He goes, okay, I'll book you in 6 weeks. So another 6 weeks, another 6 weeks to wait. Now, in that period of time, then I became really, really ill, way more often, more severe. And so what happened then? Yes, had some blood tests with my GP again, was anemic. He said to me, don't worry, Dave, Belinda's there with me on this occasion, couldn't even get to the doctor on my own.
Belinda being his wife.
Wife of many years, 18 years now. Yeah, who's counting? And he said, look, you're a bit anemic. Don't worry, it's not cancer. And we'll just get these blood tests in. All right, so had the blood test. 3 days later, get the result. I'm, again, really violently ill, need to be helped to the GPs. And he said, yeah, you're a bit anemic. You need to get this checked out. You'll go and meet the gastroenterologist at the hospital at 4 o'clock today. So I'm really, really ill. No appointments that day, definitely. And make it down to the hospital, walk in, COVID, so no help with me. No one could go with me. No one could enter.
Yeah, that's right. No one's allowed to. What was that like? What was that like? Were you feeling through that? Are you walking thinking, fuck me? Like, were you scared? Were you, or like, what were you, what was your mindset like at that moment?
People who know, I'm a pretty grey person.
What does that mean to you, grey?
Grey to me means that I don't really feel not very
neutral.
Yeah, very neutral. Not very
emotional.
Not very emotional, and not in touch with my emotions a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't feel great elation. I don't feel great fear.
Yes.
And I just take things as they come. Yeah. So that's probably put it this way.
All right. Hope you're enjoying the podcast thus far. Just want to take a moment of your time to ask that in exchange for this amazing value and guests and hopefully some entertainment too, if you guys have liked it so far and you want to see more, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. At the end of the day, you can continue just to watch and all those type of things, but it does actually have an enormous impact on the level and quality of guests that I can have. And that just means better interviews for you guys. And it also means more impact in the world. The more men that can come across this channel and see this information and see the types of topics, the things that we're talking about, that can change another man's life. So if you've got value, pass it on. Pass on that value by hitting the subscribe button. With that said, guys, let's get back to the episode. Bye for now.
I was quite a lot calmer than the people around me were about my own condition. So I'm walking in there, and so I meet the gastroenterologist in the corridor. He's mid-procedure doing something, I can tell, because he's got all these telescopes and he's got all these goggles on and everything. So I had to have a CT scan in there. So I had that, and then I've gone to see him with the results of the CT scan. So I'm in the corridor of the hospital. He says, here's your CT scan. You got a tumor in there. You're going to have to go and here, lift up your shirt. He has a look at my stomach.
In the corridor?
In the corridor, right? Looks at the CT scan results.
Lucky that you're not a sensitive type of a guy. Otherwise, it's like...
Yeah, that's right.
By the way, you've got cancer. Lift up your top. Let me see if I can see it protruding.
Yeah. He had a bit of a feel around, and then he pointed me in that direction, which is the emergency ward. He said, you better walk that way. You're going to have to go in for surgery. So, I just turn away. And
you've got to go for surgery.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that little kicker at the end. And so you're in there by yourself.
Yeah,
you're not expecting, you're just going in for a scan, going in for a blood test.
Going in for a CT.
By the way, you've got cancer. Here's your tumor.
Well,
go and get
didn't
surgery.
know it was cancer yet.
Okay.
Knew there was a tumor there. That needed to be removed. So he said, turn around, walk that way, into the halls, emergency, check yourself.
Still no emotion at this point?
No. Not memorable. No, just procedural, do as you're told type thing.
Yes, okay.
So I walked myself down there, and I just with my envelope with my CT scan results, and I get sort of checked in and prepped for surgery. Having said that, this is a Friday afternoon. after long periods of lockdown, the gym's meant to reopen the next day.
Yes.
So Saturday, the 29th of October, I think it was. That was the day that gyms were allowed.
So you're kind of, I know what you were like back then. You're probably just thinking about that.
Yeah, probably exactly.
How am I going to get the gym? We've got to get the weights back. Got to do this. Got to call this person.
Who's covering my sessions in the morning? Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm probably in that kind of mindset. But walked my way down, and I was just sort of, the one thing I remember is they explained to me that you might have to permanently wear a bag, to wee and poo into.
You're kidding.
Yeah. So at that point, I was told that you might have to have that for a period of time or forever.
Still no emotion.
I didn't like hearing that. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted to hear.
That ain't sexy.
That was bad news.
That ain't sexy.
That's right.
I don't know how lucky you're going to get with a wife.
That's right.
With that on.
That's right. I was keen to get a different outcome to that. But anyway, so I sort of slept the night in emergency. Can't remember if I even got checked into a ward, and then prepped for surgery the next day.
Yeah.
So I can keep going through and explain what happened the next day.
Yeah. So I mean, so you're middle of COVID. Lockdowns are kind of, we're in that phase where it's going up and down, up and down. You've had this, ongoing pain, and along this journey, people are kind of like, maybe you should get a check. Maybe you should do this. So it's been very kind of relaxed approach up till this point, but you're in a lot of severe pain. Yeah. But I mean, maybe from my perspective, maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, but because of your personality that's very neutral, non-emotional, you're not freaking out. So you're kind of just also following the general, relaxed way about it. Maybe I'm going too far forwards, but do you feel like, had you been maybe, there's hypochondriacs, right, who are paranoid, they've got every single disease.
Yeah.
Were there signs, like, if you were to look at maybe more subtle things, not that I'm waking up in the night and I'm vomiting my guts out, if you were to really, look back, do you think that there were smaller signs much earlier on?
That's a good question.
Not definite things, but just intuitively, subtle things. I'll give you an example for me. I don't know if you remember this, but I also didn't have an ulcer, but I was hospitalized. I left work. I was having panic attacks at work because I was so uncomfortable. I had acid reflux. Yep. And I've got the photos of me. I took myself to emergency, but I couldn't focus. I couldn't eat any foods. Everything just aggravated it so much. I literally thought, I've got cancer. This is definitely a tumor or something. And I took myself to emergency, and we did the state of a night, did the gastroscopy, front end, back end, I don't know what it was. They said, you're perfectly healthy and this is 100% psychological. And I was like, I was so angry because I was like, I know what's physical and what's not physical. After that, this is when you would have seen I had a massive health change. I quit DJing. Obviously, I was doing drugs, alcohol, eating crap from being titled. I was stressing my body, running 10 different things all at once. And all of that, fatigue and stress. But obviously, I'm 10 years younger than you. Had I have been in that situation, that's why I really relate to kind of what you're saying. Yeah. But I did, I'm the opposite to you, where I'm hypersensitive. So I'm probably more emotional. So I did notice lots of little things. It was and the stress for me personally, when I'm, even to this day, I obviously live a very different life than I did before, and I try to do things a lot more easeful and not put too much pressure on myself, and done a lot of work. But the stress for me would just completely shut me down. So what I'm hearing from you is it sounds like you were not emotional. You probably had that stress in your body, but you were just able to kind of, the show's called Make Me Great Again. You probably do what a lot of men do, which is just soldier on. Yeah. And do you feel like because you had 4 kids, you had a wife, that you don't have fucking time to have emotions? That's emotions, that's a luxury. Very different to me. I was very affected by my emotions. But do you think that had going back to my original question before, do you think had you have been more in touch maybe I mean, everything happens for a reason, but do you think there would have been smaller signs that you might have been picked up on?
Yeah, I mean, thinking now, it's a very good question. I've never thought about it that way. But looking back, I just think that I probably had issues with my nervous system.
Yes, exactly.
And I probably still do to a point, and that is probably contributed to a lot of the soft tissue injuries that I had.
Yes.
I used to get a lot of them, and I think that my nervous system might have been under stress.
Yeah.
So, and for the same reasons.
And think about that word, nervous system. It's a system in the body. Its job is to be nervous, and you had lots of things at the time, especially as we talked about prior to this conversation on the phone when I was asking if you'd come on, and you were mentioning, like, we can talk about that, potentially a book that you might be coming out with, but how I can't remember what the title was, or if I don't know if you want to share that with me as a on this platform, whether you want to save it, but it was something along the lines of
the gist of the title is surviving cancer was nothing compared to running a small business,
and that's exactly my point, right? Is that it's so stressful running business, and especially when you throw a bunch of kids in there, as I've recently learnt being a father, and I mean, the stress, if we don't deal with that physical stress in the body, then it like the word dis-ease, if you think about the word disease, which in cancer is a disease, it's just dis-ease. It starts off as just dis-ease. It's we no longer have ease in our body, but we, as men, we've been trained to soldier on, and we are a lot of times in situations where we feel like we don't have a choice. You have to go to work. You can't stop if you want to. Do you relate to that? Like, do you feel like you didn't have a choice?
Didn't have a choice. Had to put bread on the table, and roof overhead, and clothes, and just the basics are a real challenge. And to explain it to the listeners, it's sort of like this way. Imagine you go to gym, or you do exercise, not even in a gym. Imagine you just trained and ran and walked and rode 24 hours a day. Right? Imagine what would happen to your feet and your ankles and your ligaments and your knees and your hips.
Stress fractures. And
so it's like that on your brain. It's like your brain never really, even when you're asleep, because you're still processing information, and your brain is not completely at rest.
Is that thing going to come through? What I'm going to do? Is this person going to show up to work on times?
Correct. And it wakes you up in the middle of the night, and it's like your brain is never off the treadmill.
And I think, like, a lot of people who, I mean, obviously, because a lot of my followers are entrepreneurs or business owners and fathers, they'll massively relate, which is the whole point of the podcast, right? My hope is that by you sharing your journey, that in the vision and mission that I have for men is that they feel like they can break out of the mentality of what you went through. It feels like you can't stop. It feels like you can't stop. It feels like you have to put, and you do, right? There's a factual amount to it. But then sometimes when life throws this curveball at you, like it did for you, you've still gotten by. Do you know what I mean? Like, if someone had a gun to your head and said, hey, or in this case, a death threat by life, it's like you'll always figure it out. And so, I think a lot of people relate to your story. I personally relate. The difference is that, you did what I did plus 10 years, and you did it with children the entire time. So I struggled without kids, without a wife at the time, and without the extra 10 years. And so you can imagine the level of stress that the body is just in this environment where, if you imagine your body like a garden, cortisol and adrenaline are the stress hormones. And so when we're triggered by stress, either internally in the mind or externally in our life, business and whatever, or in your case, in most people's case, both all the time, you're getting more poison into the garden than you are sunshine and the watering. And that's why, like, for me, I don't think I'd be alive literally if I didn't start doing things like meditation, breath work. Obviously your therapy was helpful initially. I didn't find it life-changing. I think it just, it was just something that is just like I'm not poo-pooing it, but it it didn't have any. I never had a breakthrough in kind of therapy. Whereas I did one breathwork session and released probably 10 years of just probably tears. I cried my eyes out, and just a level of physical stress that is released through cold showers, ice baths, these types of things. Did you know that you were stressed that entire time? And did you know that there were things you could do about it other than therapy? Because I think a lot of men in the last 2 years, definitely I've seen more everyday people doing it, because people like athletes are doing it. People like Joe Rogan or Jordan Peterson or these other people who have got massive podcasts, which is the reason why I want to do mine as well, to get it to more grassroots people. But like, have you seen in your friendship groups or in other people more inclined to be open to doing these types of practices? And have you done them since?
Yeah, so I practice yoga a lot. I was going to classes, found them really, really helpful, except, I always come from the musculoskeletal point of view. So it was really helpful for that. I wish I'd done more. But I also just noticed that after a yoga class, things didn't bother me as much.
Yeah.
So I would drive. I used to attend a class in Paran, and I would drive back to work or home or wherever I was going. Traffic didn't bother me.
Yeah.
For a while. And, the whole trip home, the whole car ride home, whereas normally traffic really bothers me. I don't like waiting in any queues. So it's good to notice those things. But on therapy and treatment.
Just before you go on, just to stay on that, sorry, I just want to get you off with one thing. Do you think, like yoga, obviously yoga goes for an hour to 90 minutes?
Yep.
It's hard to do yoga every day. Much, much harder, right?
Yep.
But you get the benefit because of your stillness and you're connected with your body. Instead of being up in your head going, brrr, you can't be on your phone. You have to connect with your body. What else are you doing? You're connecting with your breath. The breath regulates the nervous system. And so you're calming the mind, and then you leave and you get that instant benefit. But to your point, it goes away, right?
Yeah.
You have to do your daily deposit. And that's why I love yoga, but I find a meditation, I can do 10 minutes of meditation, get the exact same effect, not for the body, but for the mind, as an hour worth of yoga. It's like I can do that every day. It's not going to impact my kids in a negative way, well, in a positive, not going to impact my wife, not going to impact any of my duties. I just get up 10 minutes earlier, and now that day, again, the next day I've got to do it again and again and again. It does people, but I have to do it all the time. It's like anything. You have to eat every day. You have to brush your teeth every day. It's mental hygiene.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. It is. I was just going to say it's like an ice bath for the brain.
100%.
Where you just reduce inflammation. I've tried meditation. I'm not good at it. I know there's a whole discussion to be had about that, and you don't need to be good at it. In fact, I find that my mind potentially sometimes can race more.
With the meditation, because a lot of people will relate to that. The thing that helped me is understanding that the purpose is not to not think. The purpose is to
notice.
Is just to notice your thoughts. And here's the thing: for people who have racing minds, I guarantee you it's going to be more uncomfortable than comfortable. Meaning, because all of that traffic that's in there, if you don't meditate, what you would find is that if you did it for, like, say 3 weeks, 2 weeks, a month, every single day, and even if it sucked, even if you went backwards before you went forwards, I guarantee you after that month, you would start to notice when you started, instead of taking you, let's say you do a 10-minute meditation, instead of taking you 9 minutes of absolute ruthless discomfort and you get 1 minute of little bit of peace at the end, what'll happen is the next session you'll get
a bit more.
You'll get 2 minutes worth of peace. And what starts to happen is you get there quicker, the more consistently that you do it. But I think a lot of people relate to, and I hear it all the time, I'm not good at meditation, and people know that, like, it takes practice, but it's actually uncomfortable for most people for the short term, in the same way that you and I love exercising, but you are someone who's got built overweight. So instead of the mental weight, they've got the physical weight. You ask them if they like exercise. Now, you and I both know that exercise is going to suck for the first month. Why? Because you're overweight. It doesn't feel good. It makes you face the fact that you're overweight, and that's freaking uncomfortable. Not to mention, when you're exercising, you're not only seeing yourself and feeling crap about yourself, but you're also carrying around the weight, which means it's harder until you might not have lost the 50 kilos, but I guarantee that person after, say, a month, their emotional fitness and their physical fitness, it just gets easier, and suddenly they start to get the benefits. And so I've heard you coach a lot of people about that. But anyways, so you did the yoga. Yeah. You're getting benefits from that.
Yoga I do now, these days I do in smaller bites, like you. I don't attend.
Just at home.
At home. I don't attend classes. I just have a little area at home where I've got a little basket with straps and equipment and other bits and pieces, and I just do it quietly by myself pretty much every single day in small bites. Again, that's serving me very, very well from a musculoskeletal point of view, but that brain icing I'm not necessarily getting. So I do need to make an effort to attempt meditation again as well. I use the Peloton app for meditation.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, it's a lot of people are familiar with the Peloton machine and app.
Oh,
and there's meditation.
For cycling.
Yeah, the cycling. There's meditation classes, pre-recorded and live.
And so it's guided. So they say, hey, focus on this thing, do that thing.
Guided.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So,
and then your mind starts thinking, I've got to get the groceries. I've got to do this. I've got to.
Well, look, the first thing that I sort of is a little bit of a barrier to me in terms of a guided meditation is that I got to use a device.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing that I don't want to have anywhere near me when I'm in that kind of space. I don't want to have a device on me. The first thing I'm going to want to do is check something else out that I need to check on that device. So I've got to re-systemize there and re-strategize.
Yeah, it's just how discipline.
How I'm going to manage that scenario. But at the moment, I'm just doing those yoga bites every single day. Serving me quite well. I'm enjoying it, but I should. Scotty's inspired me, as he does to all you guys. He's inspired me to revisit
I'll
the
send
meditation.
You a couple of apps that I find that are really helpful, because I think it's a bit like finding the right personal trainer. Some of them are just freaking annoying, and they push you too hard or too enough, or they yap too much. It's a real someone's in your mind, in your head, in that space. Even I have an app, and someone might say the same thing, but just their voice annoys me. I'm not going to be racist here, but it could be a certain accent that I don't mind the accent, but it doesn't make me relax. So it might be a woman or a man. Sometimes it's just different. So I definitely highly recommend trying different ones. I use One Giant Mind, which is actually created by a guy from Caulfield.
Right.
I can't remember his name.
Okay.
But it's the simplest meditation, and that's what I like about it. You literally just close your eyes and you literally say over and over. You'll probably hate it. You'll probably hate this, but you just literally say over and over in your mind, ahum. And what it does is, just really quietly, every time you notice your mind drift, you just bring it back. It sounds like the stupidest thing in the entire world.
It's a technique.
But I mean, all meditation is just focusing on one thing so that your mind isn't, it's basically it's mental weights. Every time your mind wanders and you bring it back, that's a bicep curl.
Yeah.
And your mind wanders off again. It's not. And so the more reps you do, people think that if my mind wanders and I can't turn off, that's bad. The more weight the busier you are, the more weight you lift. That's like doing a 100-kilo bench press. You're actually getting, super, super strong. I mean, I'm obviously a very passionate advocate for meditation because the amount of stress, anxiety, and mental anguish that I've dealt with over my life, which is why I'm so passionate about this work, has been extraordinary. And meditation has one of many tools, but that itself, I don't think I can.
So if you had to pick one,
if I had to pick one, because it's easy, it doesn't like breathwork takes. It's called work for a reason. It takes work.
Yeah.
And sometimes you freaking bawl your eyes out. It's not a great way to start the day. That's like a once a month thing for me. Ice baths I love because it's like a shock to the nervous system and builds rhythms. But meditation for me is just like my mind is busy. Like it's just on all the time. And
on the treadmill.
It's sprinting. And I've got a million ideas a second. It just takes that buzz out, and I can start the day. And like you said, I've now got tolerance. I've got space. I like describe it like, imagine that your brain or your nervous system is like a beaker, like a beaker, right? And imagine that if I do a meditation, it's like if I start the day and I haven't been meditating, for let's say I forget or I'm traveling or something, what happens is like today, I forgot one of the things for that will stress just a little bit of stress. Oh, now we've got to hold this thing, and Dave's here, he's waiting for me while I'm figuring this out. So it builds up some of the beacon with it, some stress. Then I don't know, say my wife comes in early and she interrupts the podcast or something like that. That's another bit of stress. Then I have something, and these little things, sometimes a bigger thing happens. Oh shit, this thing fell through, and that fills up. Now, if I don't empty that cup, I'm starting tomorrow and it's already full. So what happens is my jumper catches on the doorknob. Fuck, shit, piss. And I'm flipping out over the smallest thing because I have zero tolerance left. And so I find when I meditate, it's like I take all the bullshit from yesterday, the little things that have triggered me and pissed me off, the traffic thing, and I pour that out, and then I can take shit that day. If I don't do it, I can't take shit, and I'm gonna, as people have probably seen, I flip out. So it's healthy for me. It's healthy for my wife and my kid. If I haven't meditated, Alice will say, "When's the last?" If I flip out and I'm like, "Fucking this and that and rah rah rah," and I'm like in the street, she's like, "When's the last time you meditated?" And I'm like, 3 days ago.
July.
3 days? No, never July. But like 3 days ago, and she's like, she doesn't take it personal. And same thing for her if she hasn't done her meditation. Now, my wife and I are probably higher than usual emotion and higher than usual than the average Joe. But
so you guys are like Ferraris. Your brains are like red hot.
Revving at 100.
But you got push bike brakes on though.
Yes.
So when you do your meditation, you're installing Ferrari brakes.
I definitely am strengthening. It's just you know what it is. It's like if you want to go the car route. To me, it's changing the oil every day. It gets. If I'm going around the racetrack 1,000 times a day.
We love analogies.
love them. We can sit here and just do analogies all day.
We've got some beauties. We'll do another pod one day.
Yeah, it's just only analogies for the entire.
Only.
I'll come up with a list. You can come up with a list, and
we've got some beauties.
We'll just see, and we'll get you guys to score in the comments.
We'll play analogy tennis.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, it's like I literally cannot cope. If I can do. I've done a lot of deep, like the deep. That's like my daily maintenance.
Yeah.
But like things like obviously quality sleep, quality food and water, things like that. But like I'll do breath work and ice bars and float tanks and stuff like that. Or I'm interviewing another girl who runs a company called Spinal Energetics, which is like this nervous system healing stuff. And I do that as well. But I do those things as like my complete like overhaul. Like that's the big service. The other stuff is more so just
tires and oil.
It's or almost like just putting together the fuel. So
filling up.
But anyway, sorry, got a bit sidetracked. So going back to the
we're good at that too.
Going back to the original story of the cancer, and all these details are important too, because for me, if we could have this podcast and someone is out there listening, like whether it be today, the cool thing about having YouTube podcast or any podcast is it could be there up online for 100 years, right?
Yeah.
Someone could listen to this at any time in the next 100 years and they'd be like, shit, I'm stressed all the time. I feel like that I can't stop and everything. And Scotty's on here saying, hey, you can stop. Dave's proof that at some point you were forced to stop. Because of the cancer. And yet here you are. You didn't die. Your business, took a hit. It's still there. And so my mission is like, okay, cool. If you're going to get forced to do it and you're going to have to do it anyway, what if we were to stop earlier and just give ourselves the permission to go, even though I feel in my body this, because I know what that feels like. My wife said the same thing to me at the end of it. And it's like, I can't stop. I have to do this. And I have to do this. I've got these responsibilities. And it's like, you'll always figure it out. If you're just open and honest and vulnerable and you say, hey, look, I don't fucking feel right. This is like, I've been waking up at night. Like at that point, not saying that you should have done anything different, but if anyone else is early on in that stage of whether they're heading down the inflammation and cancer route, or whether it's just that they're depressed and they're using drugs or alcohol or whatever it is to subdue that stuff that's going on inside them, like you can stop, you can figure it out. And if as the father, and
breadwinner. Not that I was the only breadwinner all the time, but while Belinda was having the kids, I was probably the only one working full time. You've got to be the hero. You think you've got to be the hero.
I was about to say, you think that was your mindset.
Yeah, you think you've got to be the hero. You think you're the one that's got to do it all, and at times that's exactly what it feels like. But you can take private time to deal with yourself and your own inadequacies or your own failings. You must do that. It's really, really important. Funny little side story. When the doctor recommended that I go see a psychologist, I went. He said, I'm a bit like you, Scott. I didn't actually find it very, very helpful at all. Because all we spoke about was business.
Actually, this is what you were talking. This is what you were telling me on the phone. You were saying when I spoke to the psychologist, we spoke about business. When I spoke to the business coach, we spoke about psychology. It's
well, what actually happened was the psychologist recommended I see a business coach, and the business coach recommended I see a psychologist. So I'm a ping pong ball.
And by the way, that's why for the last few years in the program that we've been running for men, so many people, that was the problem that we were trying to solve, because if you can we had personal development coaches as well as the business coaches in the one thing, so that we're all on the same page working as a team. Otherwise, you are like the ping pong ball, and it's like Chinese whispers where you're not on the same page. You don't have the same the team that's trying to get you to move forwards. Like they're not communicating. It's like you've got two different leaders. So anyway, going back to what you're saying.
Yeah. So where were we? Are we back in hospital?
So you were saying just quickly, had the psychologist, and then we can go back to the cancer.
So I sort of end up quitting both.
Yes.
Can't remember the exact timeline of that, but I sort of quit both because, I felt like I was being pulled and pushed in different directions and not talking about the right things.
At the end of the day, you just felt like it wasn't working.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you feel like you did your part? Obviously, it's whenever you're working with anyone, takes two to tango, the leader and the follower in that case. Do you feel like were they giving you things to do and you were following actions on those? Was there any responsibility on your side, or was it all like,
Yeah. I don't look, they do, the business coaching company that I went with specialize in personal training and studios and gyms. And their first, their first sort of model or assignment is or platform really is mindset coaching.
Yes.
And they weren't very good with that.
Yeah, okay.
They had a guy who had one of those really boring monotone voices leading that, and you're meant to watch these videos on a phone or on a computer, and they're pre-recorded.
Yeah.
So they're not interactive at all.
Yeah.
So the mindset shift has never moved one notch from the needle from the very, very beginning. So
because obviously this is like in the sales process, what they should have asked is like, hey, what do you like with watching videos? And hey, how do you think if you were trying to shift your mindset, do you understand mindset's a big part of business? Because obviously it is massive. You're not going to get any results without shifting the mindset. But hey, are you someone who think will actually execute on this? Because if you're not, this might not be the program for you.
That was never.
Because that's, to me, like that's unethical in the fact, because a lot of people, it's not like there are programs out there where, and we've done both, where we run live calls and we do mindset work on the calls. Most people who run businesses, they're not going to want to sit down and watch videos on a computer, or even if. Well, for me, time is one of those things where we all have 24 hours in a day. We could make time, and I'm sure that if you truly felt like it was going to get results, you would make time. But if it's not, then we're not going to make time. So, so anyway, so you're kind of in this program. You're just getting told to watch these mindset videos, and
fill in spreadsheets with results and business targets and KPIs. Not the kind of things that I measure.
What if you were to paint a picture of what you would have loved to have had, and that you think would have worked in your opinion? If you could create the perfect coach for you that you think would have worked for you.
Okay, so the first thing is,
What would they needed to have had?
So the first thing, so when I've subsequently had a bit of a look around,
Yeah.
the first thing that I'm looking for is to meet someone in person.
Yes.
Not on a podcast and not on a Zoom
Not
session
on a Zoom.
from Brisbane or wherever they were from.
So face to face.
Face to face.
So face to face, step one.
But yeah.
They need to. What else do they need?
Don't know after that.
Okay.
But after that, I need to listen and hear what they say. And they need to. The second thing they need to do, obviously, face to face enables, is they need to come and actually look at my business physically, and actually step into my doors and see how things run. I don't feel like you could sort of do that very, very effectively without touching and feeling the business. You know, so that would be the second prerequisite. So after that, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
happy to be led.
So these are some of the things that you, over the years of you running your business, you didn't have someone who isn't as kind of tech savvy. You hadn't had much success with coaching for various reasons, and all of this meant that business-wise, you felt like you weren't where you want to be. You felt like you weren't able to have the infrastructure that would allow you to kind of progress to being less busy and everything relying on your shoulders. Because ideally, in the perfect world with a business, you start off, everything's on you. It's fucking brutal and it's hard, and you're driving you're wearing every hat, and then in a perfect world, you remove one hat at a time, you set up either a person or a system, and then you just keep doing it. And over a couple of years, you end up wearing maybe 1, 2, 3 hats instead of 27. But you were wearing those 27 hats pretty much for 25 years.
Yep.
And so that stress built up. COVID's come. That's just cut the legs out from underneath you. Luckily, we were able to recover, but it's constantly, we're open, we're closed, we're open, we're closed. So there's just the stress of and that's the nervous system doesn't like uncertainty. So there's this constant uncertainty, which has taken something where you're already just kind of hanging on by a thread. Would that be prior to COVID, you feel like you were thriving, or you felt like you were already feeling stressed?
Oh yeah, from the day the doors opened.
From the day the doors opened all the way, so you're already stressed, and then this is just really like a tsunami.
Yeah, but look, at the same time, we were very grateful because a lot of businesses were not able to operate at all. People lost their whole income stream.
You definitely could have been a lot worse, and thank God that it wasn't.
Yeah.
But you've gone through this COVID on and off. Meanwhile, this dis-ease is building up in your life, turning into a tumor. And then you're finally gone. You're back in hospital now. Yeah. He said, go get your surgery. So we're there.
Yep. Had surgery. Had surgery on the Saturday morning, and then I wake up, and I'm pretty keen from the surgery, and I'm you sort of, for those of you that have had surgery, how you sort of can wake up a little bit confused, a little bit groggy.
Yeah.
But I woke up, sort of knew exactly where I was, and I said, all right, I want to see the surgeon as soon as possible, find out what's going on. Now this was Cup weekend, so this was Saturday, and it was the Melbourne Cup weekend, so there was no businesses open Monday and Tuesday, I believe. So, which means the pathology labs were not open, which means my surgeon probably don't know where he was either. But anyway, I'm sort of sitting in the dark. Meanwhile, he's rung my family. He's told me that at this stage, I didn't even know it was a tumor. I didn't know for sure. I didn't know exactly what it was or how big it was. But anyway, surgeon was nowhere to be seen. I'm now. Meanwhile, I'm getting phone calls from friends of my parents, messages.
So people are starting to find out Dave's
sick, and sorry to hear you had a tumour removed. And I'm like,
so many things are going on.
What tumour? I didn't know.
I found out. Somebody told me. I don't know.
So I'm getting messages, well-wishing messages of the tumour that I've had removed, and I don't even know yet. So that was a bit sort of. Not disconcerting, but a bit, hang on a minute, what's going on here? So I keep asking for the surgeon. I've spoken to, and the silly thing was, in terms of heeding the warnings and looking after yourself, stupidly, my brother's, my oldest brother.
Your brother's like a really...
He's a doctor. He's a ICU, intensive care, pediatric specialist.
Yes.
plus a few other things that are getting added to his
To his
to
name,
his
a couple of
title.
extra letters.
Yeah. So at any stage, all I really had to do was tell him what was happening. And
But why didn't you?
I don't know. And I could have seen a friend of, one of the guys that he studied with at the hospital, and I could have seen that gastroenterologist way, way earlier.
I would argue that
that
it
was
was
silly.
just, and the reason why I would argue this is because I think a lot of other people, again, just to drum this home, you just had other things. You just have got it. It's just that mindset of like tunnel vision focus of the thing that felt more important at that time.
That's right.
And so it's like kick that can down the road. Just another day. It's a bit like someone starting a diet. I'll start that in a month. Oh, because today's it's my cousin's birthday, so I've got to go for dinner. So it's like
deal with that later.
I'll deal with it later.
I remember one night lying in bed when I'd been sick, and I'm sort of pressing myself, and I can feel something. And I said to Belinda one night,
intuitively, you knew.
Yeah,
something's gone.
I remember the words. I said to her, if I had a knife and I could cut this out, I can feel it. Okay, this was months before I could feel there was something there. Again, go to the doctor. Went to the doctor, and we've already sort of chatted about that process. But surgery had.
So your body, it's something you're just like kind of just sweeping over it. But like your intuition, whether you feel like you're spiritual or non-spiritual, something inside you said there's something
growing.
in me that's growing that I need to cut out. And that's exactly what you had to do.
Yep.
How far between you having that thought and you actually getting told that's exactly what needs to happen?
Halfway. So we're talking April 2021 is the beginning.
So you had that conversation with your wife about that. That was
the first time I didn't feel well with the teeth whitening, peroxide or whatever it is I was ingesting accidentally. That was April 2021. I'm sort of starting to feel something that needs to be removed
in
probably 3-4 months. So we're talking June, July, August.
And then when did you get told you actually have to?
And then I had the surgery end of October.
Okay, so 2 months.
It's about a 6-month.
6-month thing, but from the moment you spoke those words, 2 months later, somebody else spoke them back to you.
Yeah.
Isn't that nuts? Like from the healing or spiritual space that I've been more involved in the last 5 years because of going down that the route of just being in lots of pain, emotional and physical. It's just crazy to hear that, you had that awareness that came through for you. So okay, let's fast forward a little bit. So obviously you've had the surgery. Like we could go through every little detail, but what I'd love to hear from you is you've had the surgery. You're a husband, a father. You've got all these things. What if we were to just kind of skip forwards now? What are the impacts of this? Obviously, you up until this point, you felt like this strong feeling like I can't stop. I can't shut down the business. I've got so many people relying on me. And now you're forced to stop.
Yeah.
What's the situation? I remember getting a call from your brother saying, hey, can you step in? Can you help? I mean, I was busy myself. I tried to help as much as I physically could. But now life kept going while you now had to do 6 months, 9 months of chemotherapy. What was like, if you were to kind of just share with me, without going through the details of all of the chemo stuff, more so from a zoomed out position of looking at the things that you felt like you had to do before, that your responsibility, and as you said, like the thinking you have to be the hero. Now that option is taken off the table, correct?
Well,
I mean, in a different way, you are a hero because you're beating cancer, but I just mean the responsibilities that you thought that you had, somehow things kept moving. You found a way. It was freaking hard. You had to ask for help, but somehow you found a way.
Yeah. Well, we had to decide. We had to decide pretty
We're going to shut things down?
Whether we're going to shut things down or keep it going. So we got a little bit of help, which was fantastic. And then I've got to mention Sean Brazo, who's still one of our full-time trainers. And basically Sean kept the whole show rolling. He did an incredible job.
Stepped up big time.
Worked
massive hours.
45 plus
more leadership
hours.
Role as well, organisation.
Yep. And, and he was absolutely fantastic, and he still is. And without Sean, who's been also on a fantastic self journey as well.
Yes.
He's now become a
powerlifter,
competitive powerlifter. He's doing incredibly well. The amount of weight that guy shifts is absolutely incredible. And I think Zoom training for Sean was a good thing.
Yes.
Because he could just be uninterrupted, one-on-one with his clients.
Yes. Less distractions.
Without all the noise. And Scotty and me being around the gym with our clients. And I think it really, really helped him.
Interesting.
When he came back and the gym reopened, he was a completely different trainer.
Yeah.
And I think, and he's just gone from strength to strength. He's been a really important part of my family.
So you had people that stepped up and helped you, both in your home life and in the gym life.
Yeah. Look, I'll just tell one little detail. I had to wait 4 or 5 days until I got my diagnosis because of those pathology labs being shut down. And then my oncologist just comes in. She was absolutely fantastic, and she told me just without any family around or anything, she told me exactly what I had, and she said, she explained it all and what I'm going to have to go through, which sounded like a nightmare. But she said, I'll never forget this, and I've told a lot of clients and family members and friends what she said. At the end of it all, she said, but it's treatable and it's curable. And from the minute that she said those words, I said, it was just, again, get on the treadmill, and get it treated. When do we start type thing? Get cured, and then just get on with your responsibilities in life, which is to your family and to your work. Yeah. So it was, it was almost like I still had hell to go through, and there were a lot of hiccups and setbacks along the way post-surgery, and I had to be in hospital overall for, in total, it might have been 5 or 6 weeks in total, in and out, with obstructions and all kinds of things. But we were just, I just knew that it was, her words were treatable and curable, and that's exactly what it was.
I had this funny thought while you were speaking then. I was listening, but I just had this funny thought coming to mind, and maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, but it was like the same thing that probably was a key part of you leading, like we discussed before, with the stress and you being more neutral and non-emotional. The same part of you that was just like, hey, let's soldier on, that probably unfortunately didn't help you getting it solved earlier, was the same thing that helped you deal with it in the best way possible, because most people would be like, holy shit, and they'd go into, fairly and rightly enough, maybe a bit of a freak out, a bit of victimhood, or whatever, I would imagine a lot of people get very emotional, but it seemed like you just all right, I know what I need to do, and and that became the thing.
Yeah. So it's the next task.
Yeah, it's just funny to me to think the same thing that kind of probably led to it happening also led to you solving it in such a way, because if you're constantly stressed about having cancer, you're just creating more inflammation. Do you feel like you, for the first time in your life, really allowed yourself to be supported by other people?
Yeah, I mean, to
like be in a bit more receivership rather than because you couldn't.
Yeah, we had a fantastic scenario. One of Belinda's best friend, Rebecca Fail. She was fantastic. The first thing she did was organise a food roster, for example. Yep. So pretty much every night for 7-8 months, one of our friends who we were close with, not so close with, never heard of before,
everyone in the community teamed up and
would drop off a full family meal at our doorstep every day for 7 months. So that was incredible. And I'm just trying to sort of think of that helicopter view that you asked me to think about, and stepping back, and did I reassess my life?
Yeah, I'm really curious. Do you think about life differently? Did you get some lessons from that? Are there lessons to get? And what can you take away from this whole experience?
So good question. What I take away from the whole experience. So I've got 4 children, as we mentioned. One's 17 in year 11, one's 15, and the twins are in grade 3. And so, not that I didn't appreciate this or realize this beforehand, because my kids have just been the center of my life since the beginning of their life, and it's just been sort of a privilege actually to have the responsibility.
Dave's a fantastic father, by the way. When I thought about having kids, he was one of the people that I thought, like, that's a role model for me in terms of the level of devotion, commitment, presence, and general joy that I see you have. Like Dave, would say, from my perspective, is fantastic friends with his kids, but also leads them as like the perfect balance of what I call love and leadership, a mixture of like both those kind of elements. But
thank you, mate. Because
I just wanted to add that in there.
Thank you. And as a father, a busy father running a business, you don't get many compliments. You don't. So you get told when you're sort of not doing the right thing very, very often from those close to you, those you've never met, those that you hear on radio.
People in the street.
Those that you hear on podcast.
You're a shit person. You're a bad father.
That's right.
You're a bad person for being a man.
That's right. Exactly. You get a lot of that.
You're toxic.
But you don't get a lot of compliments. So I really appreciate that.
It's authentic.
Yeah. And, it was all by accident, by the way. I never really planned to have any kids. It just wasn't one of the things that I spoke about. But, Belinda, my wife, was absolutely fantastic. And she taught me and didn't teach me anything. She showed me.
She's a powerhouse.
Yeah. She's an incredible, incredible woman. Very, very strong, much stronger than she knows.
Yeah.
Than she realizes. And a lot more influential than she realizes to others. And she just showed me how to pay attention to what your kids are doing. And like, if I can give any advice to any young, new
or old parents, because
right.
you could be in your 50s and still, and we've seen this a lot where people are very much more business focused, because being a dad and a husband can be freaking hard.
Yeah.
And so they tend to focus on things where I do get some in business where a lot of men, if they are winning in business, that's where they do get the pat on the back. You don't get the pat on the backs at home very often.
You don't. No.
At work, you've got all these people going, hey, well done, or hey, you're the boss, or they're sucking up your ass, or whatever's going on. And that's I think that's why a lot of men tend to, it's easier to be, even though work, it's easier to be there than it is to be at home, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the changes that I made after being ill, is that I realized that, the most important place for me to be is not necessarily with another client, although I really love my time with my clients, and I really appreciate all the clients that I work with, because it reinforces health, fitness, and calmness into my own life, which helps everyone around me. But the most important place for me to be is with my children. So I've made changes to my schedule.
Yes.
And I don't work at night much anymore. Yeah. And I'm there and I'm around and I'm there to see what my kids are doing. I'm trying not to be there to tell them what to do all the time, but I try to, from when my kids are really, really young, I'm just trying to pay close attention to what they're paying attention to.
Yeah.
So for example, when Aiden was really, really little, he would just, every time, he loved a tractor. He loved tractors. So every time we're driving along the street and he saw a building site or a tractor driving past, it was tractor. He just loved it. So I thought, okay, that kid needs to go and sit in a tractor.
Yes.
So we would take him to parks or to actual real tractor sales rooms.
Whatever it is, but something to do with tractors.
Sit the kid in a tractor.
Yeah.
Right. And then, the other little thing was he would love to watch our wedding video. And poor kid, devastated that he wasn't there. He just
Why wasn't I invited? You weren't alive, mate.
He just missed, not by much. Devastated he wasn't there. And just, I dress like this in tracksuit every day because I'm in the gym. But he sees me in a shirt and a tie and a jacket. Couldn't get over it. Loved it. Couldn't stop watching our
James Bond.
Oh yeah, couldn't stop watching our wedding video. And everybody dressed up, having a good time. So the kid goes to school it goes to kindergarten in a bow tie.
That's the cutest thing ever.
Right? So I thought, okay, this kid loves formal clothing.
Yes.
So at the age of about 4 or 5, I think he was, I'll never forget this, we went on our first date. And
took him shopping.
I took him into the city. We went to David Jones, bought the kid a blazer.
Which is quite funny for me, because I know that, like for me, I would be close to what might be called a shopaholic, where David, a famous line from David, I took him to this fancy bar. It's like in this freezer door, like very New York style. Yes. Take him out. This is the funniest thing. It's like it's very trendy, like a secret bar, right, in Melbourne. And I take him there, and Dave looks at the beer list. It's like cocktails, and people are shaking this, and they're throwing things up in the air.
Beers you've never heard of.
Beers, and Dave's like, "What the fuck is this?" We'd had a couple by then, so we were swearing a bit. What the fuck is this? He goes, "Can't I just have a fucking beer that just tastes like beer?" It's like, if anyone's going to clip this and make a meme out of it, it'd be fantastic. So to set the stage for Dave, which is, again, going back to the fatherhood thing, he's not saying, well, I like footy, so you got to play footy. He's noticing what his kids are doing and realizing, okay, I'm going to write that down. Okay, if he's showing interesting, and so even though you probably hate shopping or don't really like shopping, I'm going to take him to DJs. I'm going to take him to David Jones. I'm going to get him, whatever clothes that I'm going to
follow.
Just see where he goes.
Yeah, that's right. And it was so rewarding. And when and time is everything. I've sort of tried to make as much time as I possibly can just to be with my children, doing what they like doing. And then you get to, yes, there are hard, I'm not saying it's, all roses all day with children. There are tough times. There are difficult times. There are times where, you're not even aware of how you're reacting in your own behaviour, but those times are to be endured. And then there are magical moments if you're watching closely. There are brilliant moments, and it might be, a long 12-hour day where you're with children all day and everything's turning into a disaster, but with food and with changing clothes and nappies and sleep times. But if you're watching closely and you're not stuck in your own world on your own phone and chatting to your own friends, but paying good attention, there will be magic moments and things that they say and things that they do that you just need to be watching.
And just, again, as you were saying that, I just had this other thought, which was just like, I feel like for a lot of people, for a lot of men who probably watch this, your version of, hey, kicking the stress can down the road and not dealing with those things because you feel like you had to. I think a lot of men, because I've worked with a lot of men in a very personal way in our coaching programs, but a lot of them feel the same way about business. They cannot stop thinking about business, and so they keep kicking the kids' can down the road of like, oh, I'll be present tomorrow. I've just got this one email. I've just got this one thing. And sometimes, thank God, yours and your words, it was curable. It was, treatable. But for some people, it's not. And you don't get those moments back. Obviously, I'm a new father, and I've completely changed my business so that because number one, I didn't want the stress. Sure, we're making lots of money, but I wanted to be a good father. I didn't want to have my children have the kind of situations that I had when I was a child. And to perpetuate that. And I noticed when I was, even though I'm teaching people about mindset, I'm teaching people about business. Last year I was instead of just running one business, I'm growing over 15 different businesses for people. And so by the end of the year, I'm stressed and I'm finding myself almost having the same symptoms of needing to become my own client in a sense. So even if you are a personal trainer or an ex-personal trainer and business and mindset coach, these things are they're challenges for everyone. Like, it's not about if you'll find these challenges. Every single person who's watching this podcast now will relate to some part of it, and I hope that people can take the time to really create some awareness around the conversations that we're kind of having today and go, okay, cool. What is the part of my life that I'm ignoring right now? Maybe it's my stress. Maybe it's my kids. Maybe it's my relationship. And stop kicking the can down the fucking road. Do something about it. You feel that feeling in your heart, or that feeling in your brain, like, I can't stop. I have to catch this ball. But a lot of times, like, you're not going to die. You can take some time out and spend some other time on other things, as you're saying, which you're doing now. So obviously besides the fact you've had cancer, right now you're healthy. You don't have it anymore, correct?
Yeah, I'm still monitoring. But
But what happened is a perspective happened, and that's what's allowed you a mindset shift, whether it wasn't from watching a bunch of videos, which for some people, by the way, I'm not going to poo-poo that. Some people that actually works really well. You got to know what works well for me, what doesn't work well for me. But for you, you've had this massive event, and that's shifted your mindset, correct?
Well,
not so much necessarily about business, but
if
you've got a new perspective that's making you shift and change your beliefs and behaviors.
Yeah, if you'd asked that, if Belinda was sitting right here next to us and you asked her that question,
Yes.
she'd say no.
Interesting.
She'd say he's just back on the treadmill again. Yeah, okay, he's not working at night
Yes.
anymore very much. He's at home a lot more.
Yeah.
She might say that I'm quite a bit calmer.
Yes. What would she tell you to do if she was here and me and her have a decent relationship?
Yeah.
She was like, "Hey, Scotty, look."
She'd say, okay,
what would she say?
straight
What
out,
were her 3 things she would tell you to do?
3 things, 3 words. Do something else.
Do something else. And so,
Yeah.
obviously, I know you love, personal training, and I've, since I stopped it years ago, I've made, lots of different changes, and I think it's scary. What would stop you from doing something else?
Well,
do you think that in your heart, do you think you need to do something else, or do you think you need to change the way that you're doing it? Because ultimately, let's say if you, in a perfect world, what does your life look like for Dave? Is it that you're running the PT business, but you're not in the day-to-day and you're making money, your clients are still getting served, so you're not letting anyone down there? Are you still in, what do you, if you could wave a magic wand? I'm a genie.
Yeah. So the quote that comes to my mind when I start considering all this is that a plant should grow where it's planted.
Yes.
So health, fitness,
that's your space.
That's my space. That's sort of who I am.
Yes.
I'm a good teacher. I'm reasonably motivating to people, I hope. And so probably the second option is change the way I'm doing things.
Yes.
Not necessarily change what I'm doing.
Yes.
If I had to go one way or the other.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think in the fitness industry, there's a couple of ways you can go. You can either size down, so that means have no staff and you're just doing it by yourself, and then you've got very little
scope and leverage.
More strategy. You can set up a home gym at home, and then you've got less overheads, less time. You're not going to scale it up or increase your income, but you choose I've got the family route, and we're going to do other things, investment properties or whatever it might be. Otherwise, you have to scale up, which is obviously you need to get more staff and reduce your time by the staff are the ones that are doing the work, making the money, and then you run the business part. And then the third way is that you get someone else in to run the business part, and then either they do a profit share or something like that. There's a lot of people that are doing that these days. In kind of wrapping this up in the next kind of couple of minutes, where do you see yourself going from here? Are there changes that you are working towards? You kind of, obviously you've just come out of this whole saga. You're trying to find your feet on the ground again, and all the relationships like that.
So I've been back doing appointments again now for just over a year.
Yeah.
And I've tabled a few ideas.
Yes.
Acted on none.
Yes.
Really. And so I'm still undecided.
Yep.
I'm still undecided as to whether I go the smaller way or the growth way. And I find it actually, and so the listeners might resonate with this, I find it very, very difficult. It needs major work. To sit down and make a decision like that, you need to do background work. But ultimately you need to make a decision. And I find it very hard, difficult to find the space, the quietness, the time to sit down, make what you feel is the best decision and then act on it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, I would say that's the number one reason why people have something on their heart, that they either on their heart that they want to change, or on their mind that they know they need to change, but then they don't change it, is because it's people and a nervous system wants to know, is this going to work out? And better the devil, there's my famous quote, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Even though this sucks, even though it causes cancer, potentially in our thought processing, I don't know what that looks like. And you've got responsibilities of family and relationship and all these other things. So it's but at the same token, a couple of ways that I make decisions is ROI, and so what's the return on investment and what's the cost of inaction. And that kicks me into gear, because if I future pace what happens in my life if I don't make the change, that scares the shit out of me. And then that I find that helps me. sometimes more than the return on investment, than the things that I actually want. Oh, that'd be good, or that'd be good. It's like, what do I not want? Even worse. Oh, fuck. Like I can't have that. But the other way is just simply sometimes, and I'm still stuck in my head and I'm going ROI, COI. I literally just close my eyes, and some might call it prayer, some might call it just intuition. I just literally do a meditation, couple minutes, just breathe. And when I find my mind has slowed down and have a little more stillness, I'll just literally ask myself that question. And that same part of you that told you, hey, there's something in you, it's growing, you need to cut it out, that same part of you will speak to you, as crazy as that sounds, and it will say, this is the thing. And it might be scary, it might not be scary, it might feel like peace, but what I found and I just shared this in my stories on Instagram the other day, but what I found is for whatever reason of being in a very painful situation, I just thought, fuck it, I'm just going to try this one time. I'm just going to listen to this little voice. And for the last 5 years, I've been listening to it, and some pretty amazing things have happened. It doesn't mean that it hasn't been scary, but it's very hard to make a decision because we want to know what that next step is going to look like, and we just don't. And so it has to be that to trade that fear for faith, and it's
leap of faith.
It's so hard. So I resonate with what you're saying. And I'm sure that a lot of listeners are in a similar situation. So, all right, we could keep going all day long. I know you've got places to go, and I'm grateful for the time you got. In closing, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned? What's one of the biggest lessons that you would want to give to another man that's listening to this now?
That's a good question. One lesson. I think that
let me ask you a different question.
Yeah.
Maybe it will come back to this, but what do you think that we can do to make men great again? What do you think are the problems that we need to focus on?
So I think what men need to strive to do, if they're lucky enough to have children, is to try to have the mindset and yourself that you're just showing your children the best example that you possibly can in everything that you do.
Love that.
So, yeah, I mean, that is a big conversation to have maybe another day.
Yes.
But however you act, however you treat your partner, however you treat yourself, however you treat the house that you live in, whenever you're dealing with other people and your children are present, try to think how that child of yours is going to learn, because they're going to learn everything. They're going to, they're sponges.
Show, don't tell.
Yeah.
You can say as many good things. In fact, you said this to me many years ago when I wasn't in such a great time, and Dave really helped me through that. You can say as many things as you want, but like actions speak louder than words. And I think, I think you said their biggest, how can we make men great again? Well, we can be the best versions of ourselves, and we can be that thinking through the mindset of being that for your kids. Is that what you think?
Help make the next generation of men.
Yes.
Lead by example and think of the next generation of men, and how you can help mold and create that, and women.
And by doing that, I'm sure that if you're thinking of that, that's the focus. I'm doing this next generation of men. I'm being a good father, whatever. Naturally, that's going to lend itself to being a good person.
Yep.
So then you're going to be a good person in your business, to your staff, most likely. Good person to your wife, ideally. You're going to be looking after your health. You're going to be doing these things. So it has a ripple effect out on all things.
Yeah, and just enjoy the magic moments. I mean, again, if you're lucky enough to have children, if you're a man lucky enough to have children that you live with,
don't take them for granted.
Yeah, don't take it for granted, and watch closely and enjoy the magic moments, because there'll be plenty of them if you're there to watch.
Yeah, otherwise you'll be off thinking about a million other things, or head into your phone and you'll miss them.
That's right.
And it's those magic moments that make the challenging moments all the worth it.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Dude, I love it. Thank you so much for your time. It was a great conversation. I'm sure next time when we have you on, we can unpack some more of the stuff we're talking about, how we can do that, and the make men great again, all that jazz. But today, I didn't really have any other agenda than to just catch up, chat. I think you've shared so many powerful things today that'll help a lot of people. And I'm just grateful for you being so open and honest and taking some time out of your day. So,
Pleasure.
By the way, this is David Gelbart. He owns a gym called
Gelbart's Gym.
Gelbart's Gym in Caulfield on
North
Hawthorne Road.
North
So if you want to get fit, you want to get healthy, you want to become a better father, I would say, get around him. And on social media, I'll put his links below the videos on whichever platform, and you guys can check him out. I'll put the gym on there as well. And yeah, thanks again.
Good luck, everyone.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you want to watch more, you know what to do. Click here, somewhere here. There'll be some videos. Watch the next episode, and I'll see you soon.